Coming up tonight on Newswatch 16, Ithaca College and Cornell respond to concerns about sexual assaults on campuses.
And people across the country celebrate Veterans Day.
All that and more on 16 tonight.
Covering Ithaca and all of Tompkins County. Live on ICTV, Newswatch 16 starts right now.
Hey, good evening to you. A happy Veterans Day as well, and welcome into Newswatch 16. I'm Michael Schwartz.
And I'm Noreyana Fernando. Thank you for joining us. We begin today with the story about Princeton University, which was under fire last week for its handling of on-campus sexual assaults. Newswatch 16's Julia Manchester investigated how the issue has been treated at Cornell University and Ithaca College.
Ithaca College student Rebecca Edson was out with friends at a Cornell University fraternity in September when she was sexually assaulted.
I processed it, it sunk in. I didn't know what to do, so I called my mom, and she told me to call the police.
Rebecca reported the assault to the Ithaca Police Department. Shortly after the incident, Cornell University public safety officers contacted her to get a full report.
They told me that all they could do was make sure that that party at that fraternity wouldn't happen a year from that point.
It took the Judicial Affairs Office at Cornell 4 weeks to give Rebecca information on the status of her case. The university later apologized to Rebecca for the delay. Cornell declined our request to comment about what the university has done to combat sexual assault on their campus, but Director and Chief of Police at Ithaca College Terry Stewart says the college has adopted a federal initiative aimed at preventing sexual assault on college campuses.
The SHARE initiative, in short, is something that the College Advisory Committee on Campus Safety and Campus Life has been working on to put everything in a one-stop shop.
SHARE stands for Sexual Harassment and Assault Response Education. The campaign provides resources to help students learn about sexual assault and harassment prevention on college campuses.
Ithaca College adopted the program after the White House estimated earlier this year that 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted on college campuses across the country. This number does not account for male victims or unreported incidents. Mike, Noreyana, back to you.
Thanks, Julia. And with this 56th annual Cortica Jug Game upon us this weekend, the Ithaca Police Department and Ithaca College Office of Public Safety announced yesterday that they are increasing their staff and patrolling through the South Hill this week leading up to Saturday's match. The department announced that officers will address each offense they see with a zero-tolerance approach. According to Ithaca Police Chief John Barber, the specialized patrols are trying to tend to concerns of both students and year-round residents by responding accordingly. Last year, police in Cortland arrested 80 people following the game, 19 of whom were Cortland students. Tune in on Thursday when our reporter Leah Rostahar will give you a more in-depth look at the safety preparations for this year's game.
The city of Ithaca will soon become one of 11 cities that is the site of a new line of hotels by Hilton worldwide. Newswatch 16 Sarah Kim has the latest on the new Hilton Canopy Hotel.
Previously proposed to be a Hampton Inn, the site of East State and Martin Luther King Jr. Street will now host a Hilton Canopy Hotel. The Hilton Canopy will replace a parking lot located behind the Carey Building downtown. Shop owners in the building have been expressing concern over the traffic flow and loss of parking spaces if the hotel is constructed. Homespun Boutique owner Julie Schroeder says the parking lot is convenient for her customers because it allows shoppers to get in and out of her store without dealing with the hassle of finding street parking.
It is the only parking lot downtown that is not on the street and not a garage.
Scott Witham of Witham Planning and Design says construction at the site could begin as early as the summer of 2015. Witham says the construction of the Hilton Canopy here at this vacant lot is good for both the downtown economy and culture.
There's been a change in demographic for hotels where people used to like to be along highways and where they could easily drive in and easily drive out. Now everyone wants to be downtown.
The Hilton Canopy is proposed to be a 7-story, 123-room hotel complete with a restaurant and cafe. But Schroeder says the development will only create more inconvenience for both locals and visitors in the downtown area. As designs for the hotel are still being set, locals will have to wait for further development to see if the parking lot is worth the loss. Reporting in Ithaca, Sarah Kim, Newswatch 16.
Two Ulysses residents have their dog to thank for awakening them in time during a chimney fire in their home yesterday morning. The residents, along with their dogs, cats, all escaped unharmed. The fire had spread to their attic when the Trumansburg Fire Department arrived around 4:30 a.m. Firefighters worked for 2 hours extinguishing the fire. The American Red Cross is currently helping the now displaced family while the cause of the fire is still being investigated. The Trumansburg Fire Department reminds everyone to check their smoke detector batteries.
A malfunctioning dryer in a South Hill basement caused a fire Sunday afternoon. Firefighters arrived at 138 East King Road around 3:30. They evacuated the home due to heavy smoke and a fire in the dryer. Crews ventilated the structure and monitored carbon monoxide levels for 2 hours. Banks ambulance was on the scene, but no occupants or firefighters were injured during the incident. The Enfield, Lansing and Cayuga Heights fire departments were on standby at the Ithaca Central location.
The remains of a Korean War U.S. Army sergeant will return home to Ithaca this week. Sergeant Michael James Barra's remains were missing for 65 years. He left for Korea in 1949 and was among the 8,000 missing prisoners from the Korean War until his remains were recovered on October 23rd this year. A mass will be held in Sergeant Barra's honor on November 22nd at the Immaculate Conception Church, followed by a full military burial. Sergeant Barra is survived by one sister.
Well, a little bit of relief for the family after all these years.
Absolutely.
Still ahead, Cornell University may become a hub for the next generation of obesity research.
But first, let's check in with our meteorologist, Elisa Rafa. Elisa?
Thanks, guys. We had a temperature of 64 degrees today. That's 14 degrees above normal. Mild, beautiful, and sunny it was, but temperatures are tumbling almost 30 degrees tomorrow, and the cold is sticking around. I'll let you know how long it stays, plus we'll take a look at your 7-day forecast, all coming up next. But first, we got to take a look at sports with Audra Baser. Audra?
Thanks, Elisa. Coming up on sports, we're covering both some Ithaca wrestling and some Cornell hockey. Also, I'm joined by an Ithaca women's soccer player to break down the NCAA tournament this weekend. Who is it? Stay tuned to find out.
Welcome back. Cornell University this week welcomed a key figure whose theories on obesity have spurred discussion in the community. Newswatch16's Eddie Dowd has the details.
A packed room of students and faculty awaited award-winning health author Gary Taubes when he came to speak at Cornell this week about his recent book called Why We Get Fat. It is part of a series of speakers hosted by the College of Ecology that brings in a wide array of experts on health issues like obesity. Taubes' approach to understanding obesity focuses less on the amount of overall eating and exercise one person does, and more on the specific foods we eat that contain carbohydrates. He says a focus on this would change how we look at the disease.
You end up with a different cause of obesity, a different means of prevention, different advice that you have to give, even the way you study.
Last month, Cornell was named a Center of Excellence for Research and Nutrition Education by the federal government. Amanda Critt is one student under the program and is also the president of the Student Health Club that chooses speakers.
We've known this is a problem for so long, and there's still no cure for it, and people are still working on it, and so it'd be really interesting to be part of that research to figure that out.
Taubes' approach to understanding obesity is one of many, but for students like Amanda, hearing different ideas is part of learning.
There's no one answer to anyone's individual problems. There's no cookie cutters.
After they graduate, this next generation of health proponents plan to continue efforts to tackle health issues. In Ithaca, Eddie Dowd, Newswatch 16.
According to a new federal investigation, the New York City clinic where Joan Rivers was treated just a few months ago highlights that mistakes were made leading to her death. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services issued a 22-page report with a list of details surrounding the care of a person described as Patient 1. While CMS cannot confirm who Patient 1 is, the report matches the date, circumstances, and age of Rivers. According to the report, the workers at the clinic violated cell phone rules, failed to identify Rivers' deteriorating vital signs, and failed to get her informed consent for each procedure performed.
A mission to explore a comet will encounter a critical decision today. Engineers with the European Space Agency are deciding whether they will land a probe on a comet in a project the ESA has codenamed Rosetta. The probe has spent 10 years fixed to the side of a spacecraft, awaiting the opportunity to explore a comet. If it is landed, the probe is expected to help scientists learn more about the makeup of comets and their reactions with the sun.
Chinese leaders welcomed President Obama in Beijing yesterday morning. Obama addressed leaders at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, trying to reduce tensions between China and the U.S. Chinese suspicions that the U.S. wants to contain China's growth have strained relationship between the two countries. During their talks, the leaders seemed to focus on positive aspects of both of their relationships. Obama announced a new visa policy with China that will increase the validity of tourist, business, and student visas.
Vice President Joe Biden saluted military veterans, calling them the heart, soul, and spine of the nation. Biden spoke in the Arlington National Cemetery today, where he participated in a wreath-laying ceremony for Veterans Day. Biden specifically mentioned the generation of women and men who joined the armed forces after the terrorist attacks on September 11th. He alluded to those brave individuals who made their decision with near certainty that they would be deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan. Following his praise to the veterans, he had this to say about his confidence in the country.
As I tell every foreign leader I encounter, it's never, ever been a good bet to bet against the United States of America, because we have you. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
The children of Master Sergeant Julius Shalke Jr., who served in the Army from 1944 to 1946, were reunited with his military record at a ceremony today. Shalke sent a letter to his parents during his deployment, but it never arrived, unknown to him. Another family member later found the letter, but was unable to locate any of Shalke's family. In 2005, Chuck Bubatu, who was in possession of the letter, met a man who located Shalke's children and arranged a ceremony for them to receive the letter. Family members said the ceremony brought closure with a surprise they will cherish forever.
The final poppy was planted this morning in the Tower of London's Veterans Day tribute. The poppies are meant to honor the millions of servicemen and women who have died in battle since the start of World War I. Each flower represents the life of someone who died in action during the Great War. Volunteers have spent the past few months planting the handmade poppies at the tower's 16-acre moat. Thousands of people visited the memorial today, which marks 100 years since the end of the First World War. A 2-minute moment of silence was held in honor of all those who perished.
Wow, that is simply gorgeous. And speaking of gorgeous, an unusually beautiful day here in Ithaca.
Yes.
But is the weather here to stay? Find out after this break with meteorologist Elisa Raffa.
We'll be right back. And welcome back to Newswatch16. We're now joined by our meteorologist, Elisa Raffa. Elisa, there's been a lot of media surrounding this polar vortex. Can you break this down for us in a way?
Yeah, it's not coming.
Okay,
it's
good.
Not
Let's
coming.
get that out of the way.
There
Let's
is
get that out of the way.
No, but I will break down this cold air that we're getting. Right now, it's still warm. We're hanging on to that warmth all we can. It is 52 degrees right now. Sometimes we don't even say daytime temperatures that warm, but we're holding on to it now ahead of a cold front that we're getting tonight. The radar right now is clean. We don't have any rain in the way, but if we open up this view a little bit, we can see that it is coming. We have this massive cold front that's from the Great Lakes all the way down through Mississippi. The rain, however, is not that menacing looking, and it won't be as it heads our way tonight. What is more menacing is the cold air behind it. So if we look at what has already happened, we could see that we had very warm air on our side. We even had some upper 70s down towards the Carolinas, and even in DC we hit mid-60s today. But look at behind it, all that blue. We have 20s, we have 30s, even up some of those purples. We have single digits. But this blue is going to head towards us. We will see these 30s tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and into next week. But again, today we were warm. I hope you enjoyed it. We had 60 in Ithaca, 57 in Danby, and 58 in Lansing. Again, hope you enjoyed it today. As those showers approach tonight, they won't be that big of a deal. 1 a.m. you could see they're starting to come through. As you're commuting to work and school tomorrow, you could see a few sprinkles here or there. It won't be that big of a deal. But again, they could be there. By the afternoon, it's already gone. The rain will be out of the way, some clouds left over, but dry, even into your commute home and into tomorrow evening. Now, the temperature, as I mentioned, is a bigger deal. Tonight, we're holding on to that warmth in the low 50s. But tomorrow morning, we still will be a bit warmer. We'll be in the upper 40s. You're going to be sitting there going, what is she talking about? It's not that cold out. Well, look, it is approaching. By the afternoon, we'll be in the upper 30s. So temperatures will be decreasing tomorrow, not increasing like they usually do. By tomorrow night, we'll be in the low 30s. And even into Thursday, we're still going to be even colder into the 30s. Now, again, Mike, to answer that question, it's not the polar vortex. The polar vortex is not a storm that comes and goes. It is not something you can even see. It is way above where airplanes fly. What it is, it's just this batch of cold air that's up by the poles, and it shimmies around all year. It's always there, and sometimes it comes into the continental U.S. That doesn't mean that every cold outbreak is the polar vortex. This one is not. This one may be influenced by it, but in fact, a typhoon near Japan is what's causing more of our cold weather than the polar vortex this week. So again, tonight, we're holding on to that last warmth. 44 degrees, a chance to sprinkle. Tomorrow morning, you may not even need the umbrella, but you could see some of those sprinkles around 45 degrees. By the afternoon, we're decreasing in temperature. It will be cooler in the 40s with some sun and clouds. Looking at the 7-day, again, tomorrow will be warmest in the morning, all of those 30s and chances of flurries. That lake effect is going to really start kicking in on Thursday and Friday. We can see some flurries throughout the whole weekend. Corsica looks to be chilly, and a round 2 of cold air on Tuesday. That's even colder than the air we're getting tomorrow.
Well, thank you, Elisa, breaking that down for us, getting facts from fiction. Well, when we return after the break, we return with Audrey Baser from the Newswatch Sports Desk.
Stay with us. Welcome back to Newswatch 16. I'm Audrey Baster. Heading over to the East Hill playing on some ice, the Cornell men's hockey team traveled to Quinnipiac University this past weekend. A late goal gave the Bobcats the 1-0 win, putting Cornell at a record of 0 wins and 3 losses to start their 2014 season. Goaltender Mitch Gillum made a career-high 39 saves, but would not be enough. The Bobcats' Tim Clifton put one past Gillum in front of the net with just 1 minute and 57 seconds left on the clock. Cornell recorded only 18 shots on goal coming from numerous players such as Trevor Yates and Dan Wedman. For the Big Red, they have 4 consecutive home games coming up, the first being against Clarkson. After a hard-fought battle, the Ithaca women's soccer team tied for the Empire 8 co-championship against Nazareth this past weekend. The tie marked the 6th time these two teams have shared the title. Continuing play, the women are competing in the NCAA tournament. They have received an at-large bid to play against Springfield on Saturday, November 15th. I am now joined by sophomore back Kate Douglas. Kate, thank you so much for coming on the show, and congratulations on making it to the NCAA tournament.
Thank you for having me.
Starting off with you as an individual player, what has been your biggest accomplishment as an individual and also part of the team?
Well, I think for me, the biggest part is just coming out strong and making an impact on the field and doing the best that I can to help my teammates. Overall, I think the greatest thing about our team dynamic is that we're there not to work for ourselves, but to work for our teammates. The biggest thing with us is that we show up every day and we're there to set our players up for success, for our teammates to do well. And we compete hard so that everybody's doing their best that they can and working as hard as they possibly can so that we can find the success that we have found, over the regular season. And I think that's what really sets us apart from most other teams is that team dynamic.
Now, you tied the EA championship. It was not a win, but also not a loss. Mm-hmm. How will the team bounce back and keep a strong mentality preparing for this next game?
That game was a real challenge for us, and I think it's not going to put us back. We have a long week of practice ahead of us, so we're really looking forward to it, and we're really just getting down to the basics, working on the things that we've started working on in preseason back in August, and just working our hardest and competing again so that we're ready for the next level and that we're ready come Saturday when we play. And I think the biggest part for us is just the repetition and getting back at it and keeping you know, that high team dynamic and the high spirits that we have, because we know this is a second chance for us, you know, a new season for us entirely, and we're ready to come out fighting.
All right, Kate, thank you so much for coming on the show, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, moving over to another Monday night, another night of NFL football. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Carolina Panthers battled it out with the Eagles also signing former Jets quarterback Mark Sanchez. Did they prove they made the right choice in signing him? Let's find out. Heading over to the game, the Carolina Panthers QB Cam Newton trying to break their 3-game losing streak. Early in the first, Philly up by 3. Sanchez hands it off to Darren Sproles. He goes untouched into the end zone. Philly goes up 7-3. Sproles proves to be one of the biggest contributors to the Eagles later in the first with a punt return of 65 yards down the field, putting the Eagles at another advantage of earning another touchdown for himself. Philly up 24-7 in the second. Cam Newton throws one right into cornerback Bradley Fletcher's hands. He does a little twist to the hips, and he ends up in the end zone untouched. Philly goes up with a whopping of 31-7. Skipping over to the fourth, where Philly looking unstoppable, Sanchez drops back and finds Jordan Matthews wide open the field. He stretches his 6'3" body to the end zone. The Panthers will score 2 more times, however, it certainly will not be enough. Indeed, Sanchez does put a whopping 24-point deficit on the Panthers. He threw for 332 yards with 2 touchdown passes. The Eagle defense shut out Carolina quarterback Cam Newton, sacking him 9 times. Newton also recorded 3 interceptions. The Eagles are now 7-2 this season and are first in the NFC Eastern Division. They pick up play against the Green Bay Packers next Sunday. Wrestling season has begun when the Ithaca College wrestling team hosted the Ithaca Invitational this past Saturday. Finishing second in the team standings, the Bombers recorded a total of 158 points. Ithaca did have the lead the first day over every other team. However, it would not be enough in the end. Johnson and Wales beat the Blue and White by merely 6.5 points in the final team standings. 2 Ithaca wrestlers were named weight class champions, which included Jimmy Cation at 125 and Kevin Collins at 157. Next up for the team is a Northeast Duels in Oneonta, New York. That wraps it all up for sports. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Audra. Well, here's a touching story about strength in a father-son relationship. Eric Hart, a man whose son Collier has been hospitalized since his premature birth in July, asked hospital staff if he could dress his son up in a costume for the baby's first Halloween. Hart, a professional prop maker, scaled an Iron Man costume pattern he found online to infant size.
The father said he chose Iron Man because he wanted his son to feel brave. His son has been hooked up to machines and wires his entire life. The father posted a video of the process and received an outpouring of messages from parents providing encouragement and sharing their own battles.
Just a touching story right there, and especially a great effort by a father right there to his son. Now, we're now joined again with our meteorologist, Elisa Raffa. Elisa, can you give me a breakdown of kind of the fashion sense we should be wearing at Cortica? I mean, obviously not a T-shirt in this sense, but do we need the bubble jackets in that case?
It's going to be cold at Cortica. It'll be 30, some flurries. It's going to be cold. Ooh. It's going to be even cold tomorrow. We're going to start with temperatures warm in the 40s, some possible leftover showers, but temperatures decreasing throughout the day. 39 degrees as you're headed home, and those 30s stick around for Cortica. They stick around throughout next week and then some.
Well, you said these beautiful days seem to kind of be dropping on us every now and then, and that's not going to happen this week, is it?
No.
Oh.
30s, flurries tomorrow
and
thereafter in Cortica. We'll get some lake effect in for this week.
Well, wishful thinking, right?
Well, on this Veterans Day, all of us at Newswatch16 would like to say thank you to those veterans who are and currently have defended our freedom and our way of life. Also, Noreyana, this will be the last time we'll be anchoring together after a few semesters, so thank you. It's been a privilege and honor anchoring alongside you. For tonight, I'm Mike Schwartz.
And I'm Noreyana Fernando. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a wonderful night.